rode genetics and being a freak for so long, and then after so long, genetics sort of runs out, and you gotta find something else that works. It's called peaking. Well, you pretty much take a chunk of, you pretty much say, figure out when your meet. So I guess it starts with making your plan out. You know, the plan starts with finding out what meet you want to do. You know, you find out how that fits into your schedule. Don't get something that's going to sit there and, you know, oh, I got vacation here, I got my kids this here, and they're doing this here. You got to have something stretched out to where you can't have interruption or miss inconsistency. It's got to be boom and go. You can't. The more you don't put into this, the less you can do. It all has a purpose. You all have to. I mean, you know, like you always keep the body guessing, so you know you change the tension and change the. You go through weeks and waves of that. You know that's all part of the plan. You set you know what you want to do for this many weeks out in the squat, and once you get that many weeks in, it's okay. Well, I've got to I got to start gearing stuff to what I'm going to do at this meet. You know, what do I want to hit at this meet? You know, get your percentages right. Don't overtrain. You know, it's all about having your plan. So.
Training at Westside, you automatically step into the lion's den, per se. You know, there's a certain expectation every time you compete. People understand who you are a little more. People know that, you know, kind of where you're at from your previous meet, and they know, you know, where you should be going. You know, everybody, once they get to Westside, is expected to make significant gains. And in the beginning, that transition kind of got to me a little bit. I put a lot of pressure on myself instead of just trying to find myself and continue to keep getting better. You know, I was chasing people and chasing numbers that really I had no business chasing. At the time that you know I came here, I was really focused on keeping pace with Jake Anderson. I've talked about that over and over and over. But coming from Gorilla Squad, you know, Jake and I kind of cut our teeth together there with, you know, excellent training partners: Robbie Burns, Adam Hires, Matt Sutton, Kyle Jones, Keith Park, John Webb. Just a really, really good group of guys in a one-car garage, and just made the most of what we could there. And Jake and I, you know, total after total, you know, he's ahead, I'm ahead, he's ahead, I'm ahead, kind of deal. And you know, I was basing my training off of trying to keep pace with Jake, and Jake just really hit his stride at a point in time where I was kind of having some hiccups in my training. And unfortunately, one of the things that I think people tend to do in this sport is they, instead of taking a step back and realizing, hey, you know, maybe this isn't the best path for me, we push ahead too hard sometimes. And I think I fell victim to that. I was a little bit hard-headed, stubborn, couldn't see things for myself as far as how I could have trained more individualized and for myself. But you know, when you come here, you fall into a group. I happen to train with the night crew. The morning crew's got their own dynamic as far as the way they approach their training. Both sides are you know, blood and guts per se, and everybody comes here to train hard. And you know, you're going to have a guy that motivates you kind of through sarcasm, and you're going to have a guy that motivates you just by not talking to you. I mean, but everybody here, you know, if you're not pulling your weight, you know, you're going to hear about it. And once I kind of fell into that and started finding my training, you know, finding out what I needed to do, finding the weaknesses that I had that really I hadn't admitted to myself that I had, my training started to come together again. And, you know, it was starting to come together a little bit at the Pro-Am. I had some issues with gear being a little bit too tight, and, you know, just kind of outgrew some gear from before. But the biggest thing for me is just if I have a bad day, or, you know, I had 2 bad meets in a row where I bombed, you know, the support you get here as far as learning how to let go of that. You can't hold to that. You just have to keep moving forward. And you know, Lou's been excellent about talking through that. You know, talking me through those tough times. You know, he's just got a funny way of saying things, but you know, he'll test you a little bit. Like he'll give you an idea of what he thinks you're capable of, and you know, sometimes it's high enough that you think, you know, man, that's kind of outrageous, and then sometimes it's low enough that you're like, well, man, he just insulted me. So, you know, it's like if he insults you, you want to beat it, and then if he gives you that expectation, you want to meet that. So, you know, you have to consistently, you know, challenge yourself along with accepting the challenges of the guys that you train around. For me, that's been the biggest difference is, you know, kind of coming into my own here, falling into a program where, you know, I know basically what I'm going to do day in and day out, and having guys that, you know, are getting ready for the same competitions I'm getting ready for, using the same gear that I'm using. You know, it shortens the learning curve, and you know, the guys at Gorilla Squad, I mean, they enabled me to have this opportunity. They're great guys. It was just, we had Adam, who's a raw lifter, Robbie, who was going through some injuries, and you know, Matt, Keith, and John, and Kyle, you know, were their younger lifters. So you know, we were just kind of feeling our way through things, and I think since moving up here, they've really hit their stride. I mean, all those guys are getting stronger consistently, and some of that's to do with just a general progression of themselves, and some of that, you know, hopefully I feel like I've tried to give those guys some feedback. And you know, this sport's always, you know, it's a process of learning things, and I mean, you know, I talk to those guys all the time, and it's just one of those things. It doesn't matter where you train, you have to train hard, and you have to train smart. But for me, I just needed somebody to sit me down and say, you know, this is what you need to do on the main lifts to get you stronger. Take a step back, and that was what was the hardest for me, was taking that step back. You know, admitting that I wasn't as strong as I thought I was, and figuring out a way to get from this low point back to where I was and beyond.
When I first moved here, Lou, he was doing a lot of rack pulls against band tension, and he told me to start doing them. At first, I didn't believe that would help, but I don't know, somehow I caught the bug and started doing every Friday after speed squats or some sort of squat variation. We pulled against sort of band tension. We pulled against purples, which are light bands, minis, and monster minis. We changed those up into waves. Kept the sets anywhere from 6 sets to 12 sets, and the rep range from 3 to 5 reps, and just a lot of volume. Sometimes we do 3 plates with a quadded purple band, 4 plates, 5 plates, and so on. Also, he has introduced me to the belt squat machine, not belt squatting on it, but walking. We put a lot of weight on the belt squat machine, and then we walk with it, really squeezing the glutes and hamstrings. And also on the belt squat machine, we did a variation of straight leg deadlifts, where you just do a straight leg deadlift where the weight gets real light at the bottom and then gets heavy as you come up. And that's pretty much what we use to take my deadlift from a 744 to an 840. To me, I just never really looked at a number and chased a number. I continually tried to beat myself. So in beating myself, I always won, even if it was by 5 pounds. You know, if I'm 5 pounds better this time, it was 5 pounds better than last time. I'd rather be 5 pounds better than be no pounds better. The same, you know, being the same is just as bad as, you know, not getting anything to me. So I've always kind of looked at who's the best, you know. I mean, you know, Rob Leando has a 948, and that's, you know, kind of what, you know, I look up to, so it doesn't really make 9 to 100 look so big. I mean, even though he's a bench only guy, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you hold yourself to the standard no matter what, regardless of anything. So what if I didn't full meet, still bench pressing?
Basically, we have a lot of strong guys in the gym, and my goal is, when I moved here, is to be the strongest every day. That's the mindset you have to take. Outside of here, I'm a real calm person, laid back. I try to be nice to everybody, just because you know, powerlifters are already intimidating. So in here, it's kind of like my gateway, and I let everything go. When it's time to train, it's time to train. And you know, we have a lot of strong guys: Tony, Jake, Brandon, Dave, and I want to beat them all every day, every training day.
It's something that a lot of people try for, that a lot of people talk about, you know, that a lot of people dream that they could do. And it puts you, you know, there's only so many people that break those records ever. So if that puts you, it's about joining a class that it's the elitist of the elite, it's the best of the best. And, you know, in my opinion, you know, you're not on that level. You're not on an Eddie Cohen level. You're not on a Chuck Vogelpool level. You're not on a Donnie Thompson level. You know, you're not on a Yarn Bash level until you've achieved that world record status. So, in my eyes, you know, I'm nothing until I've gotten to that point. So bringing it back here would be like something that I've worked from the day I started until now. You know, it's kind of like this is what I've been brought to do. So it'll be a career-defining moment, I guess.
Training partner is everything. I mean, without them, you actually have nothing. You only have yourself. I mean, they're the guys that push you, tell you you're wrong, tell you you're right, and to keep you going. I mean, without them, you don't go far. And with bad training partners, you don't go far neither. It's always not yes, yes, yes. It's you got bad days. And that's what they're there for. They have to tell you that. Everything you can make a correction with. And that's their job. And with him, it's minor stuff. It's not really strength issues. Sometimes it's just a little bit, you know, like benching. Weights get bigger, I just make sure he cranks the chest harder. Every time he does, it gets smoother, easier. And for him, it's a lot of minor stuff, but I mean, him as a training partner has taught me to actually back off some. I mean, I used to get, you know, hit a wall, and I'd back up and charge it 110% again. But he actually just taught me to back up, and then just, you know, cut out a few things, and soon I'm 200-300 pounds ahead I was a year ago.
Right.
And to me, I was kind of confused because, you know, back in the day, it was balls to the wall.
Right.
I mean, you came in here and it was do or die.
Right.
And that's the way it was.
Well, probably a smile. I mean, whenever you can make the old man happy, you know, it makes everybody happy. It's hard to make him smile, so. Kind of when you see him smile, it's something like you get to see very often, you know. He has to put forth a hard, no holds barred type attitude to get you to keep wanting to do. Basically, he keeps questioning your will to prove him wrong. So, you know, it's like he gives you a little bit to let you know that you've done enough. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, that dude will probably freak out. You'll hear on Westside too.
My diet is, you know, it's quite a bit different than what I would recommend, you know, to anyone else. It's been a lot of trial and error. A lot of it's based off some of the old bodybuilding diets that I used to do, and some of it's based on just pure necessity. I mean, I'm a small guy naturally. I mean, I was 175 pounds in high school, soaking wet, and it's really been a test of will to get up to over 300 pounds. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do if you're not putting the fuel in your body to maintain these weights and even gain at these weights. You're never going to reach the level that you want to be at. Looking at myself compared to other lifters, I would even consider myself thin, even at 305 pounds, and on competition day around 310 pounds. I look at guys like Paul Childress, Tony Baloney, and AJ Roberts. These guys, they fill out a 308 body type. I don't know how much bigger I'll have to be. I don't know, how I'll feel if I get to the weight that I would deem myself as filled out. But, in talking to Lou, we're thinking somewhere around the 320 range, which, would allow me to possibly cut to 308. I don't really want to do that or entertain that idea. I've been a self-proven believer in just competing how I train. If I'm 305 pounds 90% of the time during my training cycle, why am I going to try to be 320 pounds on competition day? My weight does creep up just a little bit. Like I said, I usually end up competing 3 or 4 pounds above my average walking around weight, but that's just through, getting ready for a meet, getting closer to the meet date. I take things, taking a lot more calories and, changing my supplement plan around a little bit. And, it just, a few pounds here and there is not that much. But, these guys, I see it all the time, these guys that, they'll weigh 270 their whole training cycle, and they'll kind of pace themselves down and they'll try to make 242 and they struggle. Or, they're 270 all training cycle, their gear fits perfect, they're lifting great, and on meet day they're 285, 287, and the gear's too tight. That's what happened to me at the Pro-Am in 2010. I was really comfortable, about 300 pounds, felt great. Even actually had my Leviathan sent out and adjusted a little bit, had the legs taken out, and I was really excited about it. Well, come meet day, I'm 311, and my Rage X was it was completely too tight. I couldn't even touch a weight that I'd never even had in my hands. I had to jump 2 times after misses just to even get the weight close to coming down, and I did fail on that. And the Leviathan, it was so tight my legs were going numb. But that's the one mistake I see a lot of guys make, is they change. They'll train perfectly for 10, 12, 16 weeks, however long their training cycle is, and then in the last 2 weeks they'll throw it all away by, well, man, maybe I got to take this, or maybe I've got to change this, or whatever. And it's like, why not just stick with what has gotten you the results that you're planning to do at the meet? I mean, if you're so unsure of your training, maybe you need to change your training. If you're doing something for that long of a period and believing it works, what happens, a week out or 2 weeks out that makes you not believe in it anymore? I would rather start 16 weeks out and try something then and see if it worked than to throw it all away at last minute. And that's just, not to get too far off subject in my diet, but, I really do have to eat a lot. I mean, just a lot of wasted calories, McDonald's, tons and tons of peanut butter, condiments, ketchup, soy sauce, barbecue sauce. That stuff goes on everything I eat. It's just anywhere I can get calories, I try to get them, because I'm the type of person, if I go a day where I don't eat heavy, I'll wake up 6-7 pounds lighter than I was the day before. So, a lot of the stuff that I post online, or, showing the pictures of the food, I mean, that is pretty accurate. It's a depiction of what I eat, but, I don't challenge anybody to try to eat like I do, because, it may be ridiculous for someone. I stay fairly lean, eating the way I do, and if you're trying to eat like I do and you're gaining fat, well, it's not working for you as well. So, what I tell people is I've got a pretty good idea of what works for most people, and we start with a baseline of that, and then we make changes. But that's what you have to do. You have to be willing to adapt, and you have to be willing to change. And in 2 weeks, if you're doing something consistently on a diet, you're going to have indicators. You're either going to lose weight or you're going to gain weight. And if you lose weight, but your strength feels good, and your waistline's going down, but your shoulders are staying big, your arms are staying big, it's probably a pretty good diet. What I don't like to see is these guys that just, they don't have any idea of what they're doing. Their weight yo-yos all the time, and then they come to the meet and they struggle and they don't know why. Your body's always trying to find a balance, and that's why I try to train at the same body weight all cycle. That way I know exactly how my gear fits. I know exactly how I feel day in and day out. If I'm 305 today and I was 305 10 weeks ago and I do the same exercise, the only variables might be sleep, the amount of sodium or the amount of water I took in, things like that. Or, if I'm aching, then I realize, well, maybe I'm a little bit overtrained and I need to scale back. So try to keep your diet working for you. That way you can eliminate that as one of the weak points in your arsenal towards a meet, and you can start checking off other things. Did I sleep good? Am I stressed out? Is my body overtrained? If you keep your diet consistent, that's one of the easiest things to eliminate as a problem in people's training or preparation for a powerlifting meet.
25 means everything, and I would love to be able to be on par for 26. Obviously, people who know me know that I have what's called FSG, kidney disease. I'm in stage 5, so I'm blessed that I'm even in this gym. 2,500 has always been a dream of mine, a goal of mine, and I hope to be able to achieve it before I have my transplant. If not, I really want to be able to make a comeback to powerlifting a year or so after my transplant. And if I hit 25, then I'd be ecstatic. I'd probably start crying right then and there.
Okay.
Work. It's once I actually really knew that it really helped a lot. It actually helped me quite a bit. I started understanding that that's what ties in a strong point to a strong point. There's a weak link in here. That's what actually ties it all in. And those weights, you got to pick and choose what you do, because not everything's the same for you or I. But as a group, we do different things for all of us. But the accessory work has become more important. I think I've built a pretty good base. It's just tying everything back in together. Then actually, when you do that, then the max efforts actually jump. And, that's actually taught me. And actually being hurt a few times, it sent me down to the cellar, because nobody waits on you. You're talking being out 6 months a year doing nothing. You learn what accessory work you can do. And then you come back, and it actually took you a long way. You didn't really know it. And when I was having a lot of trouble, I started working just a lot on upper back accessory work and a lot of tricep work. Didn't know really exactly where it was weak at, so I picked all different angles. And about a year later, I progressed, I think, like 300 pounds, something like that. And I just noticed that it helped every single lift. So you have to find the weakness, and you got to attack it. And if you're doing something heavy, super heavy on one day, maybe take it light. That's the things I would do. If I have an accessory day where I've ran the course of maybe being overtrained, I step back, and then I blow up the accessory work. A day off is not really a day off. It's just taking accessory and just putting a bunch of blood in you. And actually, really, that's what keeps you healthy, too. And I've just learned that from being here a long time, getting beat down, and actually getting injuries. And you just find out accessory work is important, very important.
Basically, I live for Westside Barbell. I live to try to keep Lou happy. Lou has given me a chance to train at his gym, protein supplements, shirts, everything. So my goal is to keep Lou happy as best as I can. Being part of the Westside Club has been a dream of mine since probably 10, 15 years, ever since I picked up a powerlifting magazine. I've always wanted to train here. About 4 years ago, my wife and I, we saved up money and we moved here. Lou said I could train here, and I always owe Lou everything for what he's given me. It's meant a lot to me.
Good deal. All right, go ahead.
The mental aspect of training through a shoulder injury, basically I come in here at least once, twice a week. I do a lot of mobility exercises, band work. I keep all my weight training just at or below the pain level. I think lifting heavy where it hurts a lot, you're never going to get any better. You need to stay at a point where it's just at that pain level or less. Mostly, like I said, a lot of mobility work, a lot of band work, a lot of dumbbells, cable work, using the ropes, swinging the ropes. It's been a long road. It's been about 7 months since I got surgery. It's just now starting to get quite a bit better.
So, when you're faced with the surgery and you're preparing to go under the table, like what's going through your head as far as did you have an idea of how soon you wanted to try to come back? Did you have any fear that you could not come back? I mean, what kind of thoughts were going through your head pre-surgery? I guess kind of from the time that you injured yourself. Was there a clear-cut point that you injured yourself until you had the surgery, or
With mine, it wasn't ever really an actual injury. It was something that came on slowly, progressed, got worse and worse. Now, my biggest fear was they'd go in and find something really wrong that might keep me from ever training again. The doctor always tells you it'll be 6 weeks to 6 months before you can train again. I was training after 3 weeks, light.
right?
Like I say, it's been 7, 8 months, and I'm not 100% yet, but I know it will be. It just takes some time. You gotta have patience.
Now, let's say somebody comes up to you with a fairly catastrophic injury, say an ACL tear, rotator cuff tear. What would be your advice to them as far as like you said, you like to stop just short of the pain threshold, or at the pain threshold. Do you find yourself tiptoeing that line a little too closely sometimes? Do you challenge that line, or do you try to keep a clear-cut conscious of where that line is and never go beyond it?
I challenge that line some, because if you don't challenge it some, you'll never get past it. I think it forces your body to heal. If you challenge that pain level a little bit, I mean, it's no different than training heavy beyond your maximum level, which is what makes your body get stronger. I think the healing aspect is the same. If you train to that pain threshold, challenge it a little bit, it causes your body to say, hey, I got to get better, I got to heal.
And do you think, I think obviously in the beginning probably rep work is going to be the biggest healer versus weight, but at the end, how do you balance the rep ranges and the weight aspect? Because obviously you squatted really heavy Friday, and I know that torques your shoulder a little bit, and it'd probably be easier on your shoulder to do 10 reps with 315 versus an 800-pound squat. So how do you find that happy medium, or is it just do you set your training up with with a goal in mind and work towards that weight goal? Speak on that a little bit if you don't care.
As far as that goes, you're going to have to test your own body out a little bit. You're going to have to see how it does. If you go really heavy, you need to test it out, see what's going to happen during the next week. If you can't train for 2 weeks after going heavy, and obviously you shouldn't be going that heavy. With mine, it wasn't too bad today. It did pretty good. 6 months ago, I would have had to wait 3 weeks if I would have went that heavy. So therefore, I just didn't go that heavy. So it's every individual is going to be different, but you gotta test yourself a little bit and see what your body, how it reacts.